I would like to introduce Shelley Nazer, again, Brian Marble to my right, myself, Michael Fortune to my left, Tyler Riggs, and to his left, Bob Washburn. We excuse Bob Hinkie for the meeting tonight. He was with family out of state, and I would imagine Joe may be here unless you heard anything. Tyler, I haven't heard anything otherwise, so he may just be running a little behind. So anyway, we'll move forward. And now if we can have our join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So that's the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please repeat after me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. How are you? Welcome to the meeting today. Okay, we are going to move on to the approval of our minutes. And did everybody have a chance?
Hey,
there he is. All right. Good to see you.
Joe.
So, you know, when you left last time, there was a comment made. I'm not really sure who made it, but it was, hey, does anybody want to nominate Joe to something? He's gone.
Yeah, that's been the church.
They did it to me, so you got to watch that. All right, but anyway, our minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at those? Did everybody have a chance? Yep, everybody had a chance. Well, did anybody see any corrections or additions that we might need to do? I didn't see. Yeah, I didn't have anything either, Tyler. Shelley, how do you feel about it?
I think they're great. Thank you, Tyler.
Okay. Well, if nobody has any additions or corrections, I'd entertain a motion for us to accept the minutes.
Will we, I voted to.
Yes,
I move we accept the minutes.
actually, you're an alternate.
Okay.
Yes. That's where I have all five. Correct? Yes, sorry.
So I'm quiet.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 12th, 2023.
I have a motion by Shelley Nazer. Do I have a second? Thank you, Joe. Have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, public comments. Do we have anybody?
There's no public comments requested.
Hi, do we have anybody?
I checked 10 minutes ago and I didn't see any emails.
Nothing there.
So
Okay. That being the case, we will close the public comments section and move on. Our public hearing, we don't have anything scheduled. We'll move on from that and move directly to our first legislative action. Item number 1 is the homes at 291 preliminary plat. The Providence City Planning Commission will discuss, consider, and may take action on a request to approve a preliminary plat for homes at 291, a 3-lot single family residential subdivision located at 291 North, 100 East in Providence. Scarlett, could we have you come up and give us your thoughts?
So the analysis is in the packet was attached to the agenda. We look at code 10986, which regulates subdivisions. We look at our general plan. We look at water availability requirement, our code, Providence City Code 10-8, or not 10, I'm so used to saying the state code today. Providence City Code 8-1-21 for water availability requirements. And then the preliminary plat requirements are listed in Providence City Code 11-32. As part of the general plan and master plans, I just kind of put a little summary, which is the same summary that I've used historically, except I added just a little bit about the moderate income housing plan in the conclusions. So when we get to the conclusions of law, Providence has enacted ordinances requiring that a subdivision comply with the provisions of Utah Code Title 10, Chapter 9A, Section 6. And in the general plan, the proposed preliminary plat is consistent with the general plan development in the surrounding areas. The general plan framework map suggests the preferred scenario for this area is neighborhood residential. One of the things it says about neighborhood residential, it doesn't designate lot size in neighborhood residential. It just lumps all neighborhood residential together, regardless of the lots. And I apologize, that I should say the proposed preliminary instead of the proposed concept. It talks about the location of the property in relationship to our parks, trails, and recreation. It's within a half mile of two local parks, Brookside and Cattle Corral, two neighborhood parks, Alma and Uptown, and one regional park, Zollinger Park. It's within 1 mile of two local parks, Meadow Ridge and Jayswell, and one neighborhood park, Breaker, and one regional park is Lawn Bear Park. The transportation plan shows this area of 100 East as a local road without limited access and becoming a future minor collector. And you can see on the illustration on 4 of 6 where those designations came from on the maps. The water availability information was actually one of the things that was a red comment in the review. And the developer, Danny, sent me the information on that. And so he's achieved that. He actually answered the questions. But on the water availability requirement, it is, they will be required to dedicate or pay the fee in lieu of 1.54 acre feet on this development. The stormwater plan, we look at our wastewater plan. Lot 3 has an existing service. As part of the development process, the developer will be required to install service lines into lot 1 and 2. Actually, I think we checked on that, and I think there's only service lines required for lot 2. I think lot 1 has existing service lines.
Oh, for the mobile home?
So, there you go. One white chalk mark.
Can I interrupt you for just a second? Hey, Ty, is there any way that we could get this monitor with the agenda? The systems up here aren't working.
It won't work.
It won't
This
work.
monitor's kind of.
Since
I can flip this one a little bit for you.
we could put one of these on the big
Click
ones.
one, just so that as we go through, we're gonna need to approve it with the information, so to be able to see it would be great. Thank you very much.
Very helpful.
And then the wastewater master plan includes a list of capital projects that are eligible for impact fees. The city enacted an impact fee for eligible wastewater collection system improvements. Logan City enacted an impact fee for wastewater treatment. And because we contract with them, we enacted that impact fee based on Logan City's plan. At the time of a zoning clearance for the primary structure, a wastewater collection impact fee and a wastewater treatment impact fee will be collected from lots. And now it's only lot 1, because we won't, if the other ones have active service lines, we won't collect impact fees for water or for wastewater on those. So the 2019 Stormwater Master Plan, it includes conveyance facilities, street side curb and gutter, open channels, pipes, ditches, and culverts, and storage facilities, detention and retention facilities. As part of the city's plan, development is required to design storm drainage systems for the entire development. The development storm drainage system will be included in the construction plans that will accompany the final plat. The culinary water system is very similar to the sanitary sewer system. The culinary water system master plan includes projects that are eligible for impact fees. And we have enacted an impact fee for eligible culinary water system improvements. And at the time of the zoning clearance for the primary structure, a culinary water system fee, impact fee will be collected from lot 1. Now, that's at the time of the structure on that lot. The developer doesn't pay those when he records the lots. They come when somebody wants to build the house and actually applies for a building permit. We talked about the water availability requirements. They have been submitted, so that can change to black. The preliminary plat lists the requirements. They're usually, if there's no wells or anything, people just don't put a note on it. We like to see a note so that we know they didn't just skip over it. Danny did make a comment on that, and he also made a comment on the typical street cross sections and the agreements with adjacent property owners. And I will review those for you. Let me hurry up and pull them up really quick. Actually, I might have to have Danny do it. Danny, I know you about that. Oh, here we go. There's not a city street cross section on the standards that meets the current cross section, which is 50 feet. The surveyors matched the same width of the roads on the springs to the north, and when determining the amount of dedication needed, there are a few feet of property that is dedicated. There are a few feet of property that is dedicated from the property, and he's also attached the water calculation, which I addressed. And then on the preliminary plat, back up. And Daddy, do you have a hard copy with you that you could maybe show them, since I don't have this to put up on the screen for them? Yeah.
Yes. No, it's 5, 6, and 7.
He's got, yes. The notes are the location of existing water and sewer services for the existing home, or excuse me, 5, the street cross section matches what was recently approved on the Spring Creek or on the Springs subdivision to the north. There are no springs, wells, or other water sources within 100 feet, and there are no agreements with neighbors. So as far as meeting the requirements in 11.3.2.
Yeah, he's added 5, 6, 7.
No, you're fine. He's met those, he's met that. He's addressed the comments in red on the conclusions of law. As we get further along and as we go through the planning process and look at construction drawings and even past subdivision process, we'll keep Aaron Walker's notes in mind on placement of the homes as we go forward to make sure that public safety issues are addressed. But he does have Aaron Walker's memo as well. And then of course we have our final condition, which is the applicant will continue to meet all relevant federal, state, county, Providence City rules, laws, codes, ordinances. Approval by the city of any application or paperwork submitted does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated. So,
Okay,
questions?
I'm just going to read those notes. We've got it blown up here so we can make it out.
Okay.
Is that all right? Just
Yeah.
so. 5, the street cross section matches what was recently approved of the spring subdivision to the north. which is what you did, but just so that everybody
Yeah,
up
that's
here,
fine.
we don't have that latest. There are no springs, wells, or other water sources within 100 feet. And note 7, there are no agreements with neighbors. Thank you. We'll give that back.
That doesn't include irrigation.
No, that doesn't include the, which they were notified.
Thank you, Scarlett. I didn't mean to interrupt before
No worries.
you walk away. Anybody have any questions for Scarlett?
Clarify, I was having trouble finding it as far as the median income housing guidelines, where this would fit in,
Well, this one doesn't really.
because they're all just grouped into residential, right?
Yeah, the way our median, and I actually thought I put it in this one, maybe I didn't, maybe it's something that I started adding after our last couple of discussions so that we could,
Nice.
yeah. The median income, we have several goals, and I apologize, I don't have them in with me. One of them is that we consider zoning that encourages median income housing. And I wish somebody could tell me what that is, because I've seen a lot of zoning that is very expensive, not just in Providence, but lots of places. And so I don't know what the magic number is for median income housing when you come right down to it, because they're very expensive multi-family units, single family attached. But that is one of our goals, is that we will encourage zoning. Doesn't say that we will make them necessarily build it, but we will look towards zoning that encourages moderate income housing. We also talk about utilizing our existing streets and improving them for multimodal transportation to so that, and we talk about adapting, taking old parcels, readapting. This one kind of does that, but we're still not meeting the mark of our target of moderate income housing, but we are taking an older parcel with an older home on it, and now it's going to be 3 parcels instead of just 1. So we are taking existing and readapting. One of our goals talks about in taking existing structures and readapting them as well. So we've got several options to choose from. Our biggest problem is with the way the state law changed. They cut 2 months off of our time frame, and so we just don't have quite very much time to work on it. So we'll do the very best we can, and we'll write about all the good things that we do, and we'll keep pushing forward to stay compliant with the code.
You turn one lot into 3, you're dropping the bucket, but it's dropping it down.
Right. Yeah.
So it all filters down to create more availability.
It does, and I mean, this isn't the place for soapbox. I think it's more a supply and demand issue and a flat out market issue than it is what cities are doing as far as different zoning regulations. I realize there are some cities that do not want anything less than 1/3 of an acre lot, and there definitely are some of those people out there, some of those communities out there. But there are a lot of communities in Utah that have tried to have a range of housing opportunities for people. I also think that townhomes are becoming more desirable for mainstream, not just people that can't find a bigger or can't afford a bigger home, which then makes their market value go up, because now there's lots of different people looking for townhomes, not just people that normally would have looked at a home with a yard, just because of lifestyle changes. So I think there's many reasons, and all we can do is the best that we can do. There were options about, and one of our options is to work with programs like BRAG, which we reach out to them quite frequently and try and work with them to encourage vouchers and things like that where it's applicable. But it's just one of those things where we will do the best we can do.
So this particular lot 2, but the center lot, that's considered an interblock development, isn't it?
No, because the way our definition of inner block is, it's got to be in a traditional block that's got roads around it. That's
Really?
an actual block.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So if if it's not a traditional four-sided block, okay, so places up on 200 South, that we did last year,
Yeah.
those were not inside of a traditional block.
They were considered part of the historic townhome, or not townhome, the historic preservation district though, of
Okay.
which we do have a definition of townhomes, which includes those blocks, or downtown, I'm sorry. We
So
have
it can be
additional
historic or a four-sided block. And this one doesn't qualify in either of those cases.
And this is outside of the historic.
the historic districts from the south side of Second North or south. And I'm struggling.
I have another question about moderate income housing in general, because a lot of our decisions kind of hang on the definitions and what our goals are and what we're going to do. And I've been thinking about this because I don't know, like you said, I don't know really what the definition is, the target area that we're trying to accomplish, trying to reach. If it's a financial goal, or if it's a size goal or something like that. So for future reference for me, I would like, if there's any way that we can define, at least for ourselves, what we believe this is.
Well, moderate income housing actually is, the price point is defined. My question
You
is,
can't find the house for that.
yes, what zoning could you implement that would allow that type of a price point without it being some type of a subsidized project? And that's why I say when the state code says zone for densities that encourage moderate income housing, I think when we're zoning for multifamily densities, we're doing the best we can do to do that. And even like our 6,000 square foot single family lots and whatnot, we're trying to reduce the physical exposure for costs. But yeah, so the only thing that is really defined to my knowledge is the financial target that we're looking for based on people's
On the median income.
80%. Yeah.
for the county.
Right, and I will take 1 second and then we'll let Danny talk, but I did speak with Chris Wilson, Senator Chris Wilson, and the other day, and talked to him about this moderate income housing and really what the legislature, really what is the target is. I kind of asked him the same thing. And he asked for a little bit more time, but I do think if you're interested, he's willing to come and talk to us in 30, 45 days, something like that, after he's had time to do some homework.
Okay, so that was kind of part of the second part of my question is, how do we know when we've reached our goal? Do we, I mean, is it percentage of houses that are, I mean, we don't know how to hit the goal if we don't know what the goal is. You know what I mean?
Right. We kind of left our goals a little bit open-ended on purpose, so that we didn't want to say we're going to change the zoning on 2% or 4%. We just said we would look at zoning that would encourage that housing. And that's kind of the way we did on the other things. I really do think with the projects that Ryan's got coming up in the infrastructure on doing the striping for bike paths and walking paths and redoing some of our roads, I think some of our infrastructure projects are really going to help us. I think we'll probably be okay, but it's just something that's going to be difficult to continue further, mainly. And that's what I talked to Senator Wilson about. I said, we're actually running out of property space to encourage big complexes that could be built economy to scale and perhaps influence lower, more moderate income housing. So like I said, he's going to do some work and get back to me, but we'll keep plugging along. And so, no, I don't have a good target on any of it. My goal is just to show that we're progressing on the goals, that we're not, that we don't overachieve and then not be able to continue to progress. I mean, we want to do right by the community and by the people, but we also need to do it in a manner that is consistent with the code.
Seems like it's
It's kind of,
as long as you're moving, you're not like going backwards, you're staying stagnant. That's what they want to see is every community doing their small part to get momentum. That's
But no stop to the donkey.
what's that.
There's no rest or stop for the donkey.
The donkey's gonna be going forever.
You have to always be going. There's no completion of the goals.
yeah, it's on the endless time.
It's an endless.
Thank you, Scarlett. Appreciate it. Like to invite Danny to Portland now. Appreciate it.
Well, just on that note, we're talking about this. Remember when I took my kids back east on a road trip a couple of years ago, and my kids commented on how just dead everything felt in the Midwest and some of the northeastern states. So it's good that the donkey's always moving because that means we're growing, and that means we're always behind in hitting our targets. So otherwise, if you're dead, then the donkey stops. It is not growing. So anyway, what questions do you have for me?
Does anybody have anything they'd like to ask Danny directly about this project? I think it's pretty cut and dry, but
The irrigation, I'm gonna guess you're gonna just bury that irrigation line there
Yeah,
and put in a box or whatever, working with the
Yeah.
irrigation company. And then, you're gonna match the sidewalk on the left and right. So
there's no sidewalk on the south, but there will be sidewalk on the north that will match on the spring subdivision.
So you're not gonna put sidewalk all the way across.
Yeah, across the
Across,
frontage of the property.
yes, that's what I meant.
Yep.
Okay, so we will have curb and gutter and a parkway, and we'll have a sidewalk, and we'll have the irrigation. Most of it underground.
It'll be piped along the frontage of the property. It'll all be piped. Yep.
Great.
anybody else, anything?
I want to say thank you. I feel like this is a compromise. I feel like it's on the right track. I know we worked hard on you last time you were here, last time we saw you. And I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm selling it. You guys took the wind out of my sail pretty much, but I mean, I appreciate that, but you know, I respect all of your opinions. So.
Well, and I think they kind of go with the question that Bob had in your situation. I was down with the legislative group portion of them this past weekend. And I really think what a lot of it is that they've thrown this out, told everybody, this is what you're going to do. And we're going to give you a certain amount of time frame to do it. And I think what they're looking at is to let everybody try stuff. And then they're going to see what really works, what's successful.
Sure.
And then they may model that and offer that to the different people. I think everybody's going to be trying different things because it isn't a cookie cutter thing. Some people have more property and no multifamily, and some are running out of property. And what can you do? And we have some unique opportunities here. I think that's the direction they're going right now.
Sure.
And they put a little bit of teeth behind it. So sometimes it's just about time.
Yeah. Well, and I do feel like it's good that maybe you have some direction.
Yeah.
Because I know it's difficult when you're up here and people are, really emotional about, I've been here and I've been here for 40 years and I don't want it to change. Well, that's not realistic when you're 30,000 housing units behind and you're trying to hit, affordability for people. And so now you have some teeth that you can say, well, hey, this is actually the direction that our state leaders have given us. And then, you can deflect to them that they're the bad guys.
Well, and even like Scarlett said, I think Senator Wilson was up in this area, and even it was even difficult for him to really explain it in great detail.
Sure.
That's what he's working towards, and then we'd like to get that where we get some training about it as well. So,
Yeah.
But thank you, Danny, very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you. Okay. Let's go ahead and open this up for discussion amongst ourselves. Does anybody see any concerns? Looks very clean. And I think he's got all the questions answered and addressed as much as possible. Shelley, how do you feel?
I think it's great. I agree.
Brian?
So I don't see any issues.
Tyler? Good. Bob?
I'm good.
Joe? Okay. I am going to step away, actually step out of the room. So I'm not going to vote. I have some personal interest in this project and some activities going. And so I'm going to make Bob Washburn voting member. And I'm going to step out for the staff and you'll just run.
Yeah. Okay, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the preliminary plat for homes of 291, a 3-lot, single-family residential subdivision located at 291 North, 100 East, subject to the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and conditions set forth in the staff report.
Okay, I've got a motion. We've got a second on the motion.
Second.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Move it on.
Hey, Danny, I need to correct you on one thing.
Yeah.
You said you respect your opinions. You haven't respected my opinion ever since I've known you. But that's probably because of my son, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, under 18, you have to wipe that away.
Anything you did before 18 should be wiped clean, right?
Okay. Are you leaving us? Okay. All right. I didn't know if you were with the White Project. We would move to item number 2, although our policy has been, if there isn't anyone here to represent the owner or an agent, that we would table it. Is that correct? Am I using the right terminology?
Yes.
And he knew he was to be here, right, Tyler?
That's what we're not sure of. We didn't hear back. from
This was
Okay,
just added on Monday.
Yeah.
and We just sent him the agenda this afternoon.
well, and I was going to withdraw myself again because I know the Whites really well. We're involved with him with stuff. And my son has a shop over there at his property. So I think he didn't know, to be honest with you. I haven't had a chance to see him, but they were talking about moving some things and stuff. So I think if everyone feels all right about it here, that we table it and just make sure that we let him know and that he should be here, or his wife or somebody to represent him. Would that be appropriate? Okay. You guys all feel the same about that? It was a study item. It was basically to have his one larger piece be zoned to match what's around the subdivision.
And so you're proposing that we move away from the tradition, or there's not a
No,
statute, but it's
no,
just a tradition?
I
Okay.
would say that we move it to the next meeting. And just confirm with him that he understands it.
And this won't delay him either because the next one will have the public hearing won't be till the end of May anyway, so.
Right, because that would be the next step. That was a question I was going to ask you after we did study and all of that. His next step would be the public hearing. So, okay. We don't need to vote or anything on that, do we?
If you need a motion, I'll make a motion.
You can take a motion to table it to the next meeting.
Okay. Let's,
I make a motion table for the next meeting.
Oh,
perfect.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Does anybody have any business that we need to address?
I just have one item as for Charlotte. I've looked on the League of Cities and Towns website for a summary of bills that were passed. I haven't seen anything. You know anything that affects zoning and
I can send you the link. I go to
the actual Utah code. And then they've got that banner across the top and I click on bills. And then there's a section for past. And that will give you everything, but I don't think the league has put out their little summary.
Yeah, I was hoping, I'm aware of that and I appreciate that. I
Yeah,
was hoping that means I have to go through all the revenue bills and
Yes.
read the titles and then I was hoping that maybe the league would have.
If
one,
they-
which is zoning.
Brian, did they
enforcement.
mention anything at the?
I thought they mentioned that they had the link up, but, I thought they'd mentioned that they'd had the link up, so I just was pulling their website, but if it isn't up, they're working furiously on getting it up, because usually they have it before their spring conference, and the spring conference is last week. Right, but oftentimes they put on their notes before that. Usually it's up on their website as far as to help us to make any adjustments we have. So.
See that.
I'll send you.
I appreciate it.
They usually notify us too. They usually send me, well, not with me, but you're on that email, particular email group. They usually send you a notification that says, this is out. Here's the link, but so whatever we get, I'll try and pass it on to everyone.
That's all I can say. Apologize. for taking that.
No problem.
I got a request, clarification on a point. Sure was a point, but that's the Scarlett made, and that is, Ryan, want to explain to us how the infrastructure changes are going to affect affordable housing? Scarlett tied that to you in the middle of our sidebar.
She certainly threw me under a bus. We are making continuous improvements to infrastructure. Some of that would be water, some of that. So this year we're planning to do another 13 blocks of streets. We're looking to drill
Resurfacing.
some more than resurface. We're pulverizing and paving, so it would be full reconstruct on 13 blocks. We're doing 3 test wells. We are putting in bike lanes, which I think bike lanes is more a help in our plan, in our transportation and trails planning. But we're going to add 9 miles of trails. We're going to add hopefully, if everything works out, we'll add a 1/2 mile and a 1 mile walking track to Zollinger Park. There's significant things in which we are improving and using impact fees and to improve the city as it goes. So those impact fees are being spent and built for improving our city, including the parks and trails and streets and water. And so anyway, we're making lots of progress. How that exactly ties to affordable housing?
One of the options.
It was one of the options. Improvement of infrastructure was one of the listed.
One of the 13?
One of the 13, was a 35
or whatever. it
35
was.
listed options from the state, and we're certainly making improvements on our infrastructure.
So when we started talking about this in depth, October, November, and you came back, Scarlett, and gave us a list of 13 items.
Yes.
There were possibilities, but there is total in the statute of 35.
I think it's 27.
Okay, and then you called a bunch of those out that didn't have any input.
Some of them we couldn't do. We don't have a transportation hub in order to magnify that transportation hub. And in order for us to get a transportation hub, it was just outside of our range of goals.
That's fine. But, okay, so
But-
do you think of how the affordable housing could be affected?
Well,
I'm open to it.
let's look at water. So our 3 test wells, because we are drilling 3 test wells and putting in another production well, we'll be able to use more water. And that opens up more of our access to our water rights. We are expanding certain roadways, which will allow for more traffic along those roadways. The more traffic that's allowed, I mean, those are two things that are kind of brought up as hindrances to growth, is saying, well, the roads aren't wide enough, or maybe the argument is we don't have enough water, and but we are magnifying the water rights that we've been getting, and so I don't know whether Danny was fee in lieu or shares. I haven't figured out. Okay, but at that point, let's say it was fee in lieu. Those fee in lieu pay for the drilling of test wells and the production well, which will then allow us to have more water for those that are to build more. The problem I see is if you don't have, I mean, we have a lot of good infrastructure and a lot of things have done that way, and we're improving it. But if you don't have infrastructure, at what point? I mean, I look and say, how many times have you approved a development in this body and have ever considered that the sewer master plan says that we have a kink or a restriction going from us to Logan, and how many times that really been a consideration for you to rezone?
We were trained on that, or we spoke about it. It was great. We figured the city will say we need to get an ordinance for what is it?
Well, that's part of what
So-
our sewer collection.
That's why we have we have an impact fee in for it, and we're planning for those. But at this point, I'd hate to be on a public record for this, and I know we are, but we wouldn't be in a moratorium. But if every house were magically built today that could be or is potentially approvable, so like every lot and every open space, if everything were magically built today, our sewer line wouldn't handle that. It just won't. Over time, we'll need to either build a treatment plant or expand our line with Logan. So at some point, and yes, Logan is downhill, and so it'll flood Walmart first. So, if you see Walmart flooding with sewer, stop flushing.
With the transplant and whatnot, one of the big pushes about multifamily is walkable communities. And so with the trails and the proximity to shopping centers and things like that, bicycle routes, bus routes, all that different kind of stuff. Unfortunately for bus routes, we rely on CVPD, and they're kind of rethinking the way they do things. So that's not as quite the option it used to be, but we still, by improving our bike lanes and sidewalks and things like that, we are adding to that walkable community feel that is supposedly part of what whoever came up with that multifamily or moderate income housing list thinks is a key for moderate income housing. So
It's a little ironic to me that you have Stanky's Market that was over in Logan at one time, and you have the Island Market. I know when I lived in Logan on Second North, there was a market down there on Second North, and they phased that out to sort of, the Island Market's about the only one that stayed in business, big shopping center. Now we're wanting walkable communities and going back to that.
yeah,
So
what goes around comes around, I
I
guess.
could try.
No, I was just gonna say, last time we met, there was a lot of discussion about safety of roads and access to high density community. And I think that having the infrastructure, the roads, in and out of areas where we would allow us to have higher density in areas. But like 2 weeks ago, the university owns the property that would allow us to get to the highway, right? So there are areas that we can't really easily get more dense because we don't have the infrastructure to allow traffic in.
I would say a 2-lane paved road wide enough for a 12-lane configuration can handle a significant volume of traffic. So although that might be an argument, if you look at the volume of traffic that can actually, I mean, I'd have to look at the number, but I'm talking thousands per day. Very few of our roads meet a level of service that are exceeding that. But we have some roads that don't even meet 24 feet wide. And when you don't have a standard lane width for that, those are ones that are problems. And so one is, I mean, we're going to widen 400 East, part of 400 East, we're going to widen it. And some of it right now, it doesn't even fit the 24. So those ones, yes. The ones we're talking about, the volume of traffic there is not in excess of what that road could do. But that's, I mean, I'm not proposing for or against the change. You had your recommendation. I fully support those. But keep in mind, a 2-lane road, fully designed and to our current standard, can take a lot of successful traffic. So, okay.
It is an argument.
Yes, but we're working on ones that don't even meet the standard.
Infrastructure. That's
Yeah.
what the question was. I believe it's important part of being ready for.
Okay, if everybody's good?
No,
You're not
I've
good?
learned something tonight. As we had this discussion, I just want to share with you. If we had today, none of the roads were paved in Providence, which was a big deal way back when. If there was no paved roads in the city of Providence, our cost of a home here in Providence would be much, much lower. Is that correct?
I disagree. I challenge that, and I think that would be one that would be a fun argument to talk about, but it's not on the agenda. But I think that's a fun one. I would disagree. The maintenance cost of a dirt road exceeds the maintenance cost of a paved road by 10 to 1, at least.
I just wanted to ask one more thing. We didn't get to speak with you about it last time is, just wanted to make sure that the city council will be able to review the water efficient landscaping proposal. That's still on the agenda.
I think we'd send the letter. I think the recommendation, or as I recall hearing that we would send the letter to them so that they could have the letter. If they choose and a council member chooses, a multiple council member choose to put it on their list, they certainly can, but that they would be given the letter. Is that not the recollection? That they would be distributed the letter? My understanding was that they would be distributed the letter. Yes.
Whether or not that be on their agenda.
At that point, I don't believe the discussion was on their agenda. I believe that they would be distributed the letter. Is that, unless there's a difference, that was my understanding.
And just on that, did we say we weren't going to have Anderson come and speak? Or we were still gonna do that? I know that was something.
I didn't pursue that
Yeah,
when we said
we
we would
just-
wait and see if there was
So we said we
direction.
would wait and see. Okay. All right, sounds good. If everybody's all right, nobody has anything else, I would entertain a motion that we go ahead and close our meeting. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.